For today's review, we are looking at the Plucky Squire, a beautiful action-adventure game about exploring a picturesque storybook. Unfortunately, this game can cause a few paper cuts in places you might not expect. In the Plucky Squire, we play as, well, the Plucky Squire Jot, who is the main character of a children's book that is beloved by all. But when one day the evil wizard discovers that they actually live in a children's book, he decides to start to rewrite and mess with things. And it's up to Jot and his friends in order to put things right and keep this beloved story going as it should. Our gameplay is done action-adventure style, kind of like the older Zelda games with a few twists here and there. You'll explore perhaps one of the most aesthetically beautiful looking environments that we've seen all year. The game nails the storybook art style every which way, including during the very picturesque cutscenes complete with a narrator. Each chapter you'll explore page by page, trying to make progress. Now, the kind of twist of the game has already been spoiled, so it's not too bad to mention here. But once you get past the opening, you'll soon discover that you can explore the real world, and the game kind of turns into like a 3D action-adventure game, with each chapter having to explore both the real world and the paper world in order to make progress. You will gain access to abilities that let you manipulate the book in various ways, such as being able to kind of turn the book, flip pages, as well as take words or verbs and mix them into different sentences to change how things work. This is an integral part of the puzzle solving and puzzle logic as you get further in. As you go further in the game, there's even kind of like little mini-game sections and vignettes that kind of vary between being like adorable and just plain strange to do. But again, the game nails this kind of look and vibe. The Plucky Squire is definitely not designed for like the fan of a Dark Souls or a more modern Zelda action-adventure game. This is definitely a title aimed for first-timers and children to play. If you're hoping for, again, like super hardcore mode, or very devious puzzles, or the story getting into dark places, this is not going to be that game. Instead, you'll find just a very interesting mix of variety of situations and different art styles as you explore between the real world and the book world. However, there are a few issues with this game that do, unfortunately, stain these pages to some extent. While we were playing this game, we found not one, not two, but 3 different softlock situations, and the third one is the one that got me. So at the time of me recording this video, I literally can't play the game anymore. And it has to do with kind of how the logic of the world and kind of the setup of this game is. The game autosaves very frequently, usually whenever you make an action or a change on a page. That's not horrible in theory, but you see the problem is, if you make a mistake or you create a softlock and the game saves too many times, you literally can't go back in any kind of like your save profile before that softlock happens. It will only save kind of 5 instances. The only other solution is to completely replay the previous chapter, because the game will not let you start on the same chapter that you're on, only the ones that you've finished. The issue with how the words and kind of that mechanism work is that when you take a verb or a word out of a sentence, the change is not immediate. It will only change the world when you place a new word in that spot. So here's an example. Let's say that you leave words in a section that's going to be flooded, and you place the word that floods that area in. When that happens, all the words that are down there are now kind of white, or they're now under that water. But you see, you can't just take the word out and drain that section. You're supposed to get the word that puts it back to being drained. But if that isn't accessible to you, guess what? You are now softlocked. And what the game should have done, or what they should have put in as a contingency, would be some kind of just reset the room or reset the page command, which would have kind of alleviated some of these issues. And It's unfortunate that this happens so rarely throughout the game. Another issue we ran from a bug standpoint was during the card you're actually fighting on a card for one of the sections, and the bottom text did not load in, or the texture didn't load right, so you literally can't see what is going on. Thankfully, a restart did fix that, but I have read on the forum that there are some people who that is not helping them. And these kinds of issues definitely leave a stain on the Plucky Squire. Now, as some good news, they did release their first post-release patch, and it has provided a workaround to where I was softlocked and a few other places. I don't know if they've caught everything in the game by the time you're watching this review, but I can at least get back to making progress in it. So, to wrap things up, the Plucky Squire is a very delightful game. This is definitely a children of all ages kind of action-adventure title. As I said earlier, if you're hoping for like a brutally difficult title, this is not going to be that game. And this is definitely a great game if you are a parent looking for a game to kind of get your child into games and have some really beautiful colors and aesthetics to go with it. With everything said, this was played with a press key provided by the developer. Let me tickle your game for a future stream and video. It does not involve books, soft locks, hard locks, medium locks, or any kind of locks whatsoever. Then please reach out. Let me know what you think about this one down in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and see everyone in the next video. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.